I spent months, or better said, years, building a side gig that was my finance coaching, then going to building a small business that was finance coaching. And the whole brand was, again, focused on coaching people individually, one-on-one with finance coaching. And I realized I was making a fatal mistake with this business. It was a mistake that was keeping me stuck and that was not allowing me to progress further with what was once a side gig, and now was becoming a side business. If you are starting your entrepreneurial journey right now, avoid these 3 specific traps that most new entrepreneurs fall into, and that most people that start a business and that want to be successful are keeping themselves stuck and trapped in, because they're not avoiding the mistakes that we're going to discuss now. Mistake number 1 that new business owners or new entrepreneurs make is selling to the wrong people, selling to the wrong audience, selling to the wrong avatar. Mistake number 1 that I made was selling to people finance coaching when they didn't have money. The fact of the matter is that I was trying to sell finance coach to people that were drowning in debt. The friction to get paid was massive. A ton of churn, which is people turning back and not deciding to stick with whatever I'm selling to them. And that is what led me to wanting to pivot to a new business model, which was selling systems to mechanics, to blue collar owners. And the reason for all of that is because of the fact that they already have cash flow. They just lack time. The issue that they have is not money. The issue that they have is that they want to make more money. That, of course, more money would be awesome for them, but they have no way to do it. They have no time to answer calls. They have no time to focus on the business and developing the business further, because they have to be fixing cars. They have to be fixing the plumbing of a home. Again, these are the issues that are happening. These are these realities. Sell time to people with money. That's one of the biggest advices I could give. But more than that is understanding what it is that you're selling and who to sell it to. In the end of the day, I have said it before, if you are selling something that's a medium level price, $150, $200, $300, and you're trying to sell it to people that are broke, they're not going to be able to buy it because it's too expensive for them. And people that are making a lot of money, typically speaking, these type of products are things that are not going to save them a ton of time. They want to invest high, and a lot of times they're willing to invest high so that they can save up more time for them to focus on what matters, and so that the system or whatever it is you're selling could produce them more. High ticket to less amount of people, but selling just a few of those will get you so much further. So again, understanding who you're selling to, right? If you're selling to everyone, understand what you're selling and how you're going to sell it to everyone. If you're selling to high ticket people at a high price and you're just going to sell to a few of them, then that's okay, because it's a high ticket sell. So understand what you're selling, understand who you're selling it to, and if it makes sense, the people that you're selling it to. And if the product makes sense in the market, that it will actually sell, that is not too expensive for the poor people, and it's not something that really attracts someone that just wants to save time and that is willing to invest more money in order for them to save up time for what matters most in their business. By the way, if you appreciate the raw, unfiltered truth about what it actually takes to build a business, not the motivational stuff that anybody could sit down and speak to you, but more than that, the actual steps of how to be successful in a business, how to begin to start your business, but not only that, what mistakes to avoid in a business like we are talking today. If you are interested in the truth of what being an entrepreneur entails for you, and you want to be able to be successful as an entrepreneur and follow the journey from start to success of an entrepreneur, hit the subscribe button, give a like, put a comment if you like this video and you like what you hear. But remember, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification so you can be alerted whenever a new video comes up. Now, let's get back to the mistakes that we were discussing before. We talked about one of them now, which is understanding who you're selling to and what you're selling to who. And the second mistake that people tend to make is what I would call duct taping a business together. Now, one of the issues that happens is that people go and they say, I'm going to get MailChimp, I'm going to get Calendly for booking, I'm going to MailChimp for emailing, I'm going to Twilio for texting, I'm going to pay like $400 in subscriptions, and then on top of that, I'm gonna throw some ads for outreach, and then maybe a system for cold emails and cold calls that could be automatic for me. Now, when you sit down and you look at all of this, sounds amazing, and it looks like it might work out. But the fact of the matter is that you just hit yourself with an overhead that is more than $500 of overhead, possibly, just because of the fact that yes, you wanted to build a business, yes, you wanted to put it all together, but what you're not realizing you're doing is you're just duct taping a lot of things together. And does it really make sense for you? Is it gonna look pretty in the end? Is it gonna bring you a client? And possibly it can. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't have money, don't spend on overhead. That is, I think, one of the best things I could tell someone. If you want to avoid burning out in your business, outside of being able to have the mental power of showing up every single time, of not seeing results, but continuing and continuing and continuing and just being consistent and persistent, outside of all of that, other thing that can burn you out a ton, and the other thing that can make you fail completely is when you have too much overhead. Because too much overhead makes you realize how much you're losing and spending on a business, and you're seeing nothing back. And that's one of the mistakes I personally made since the start. I built a whole website because I know how to do that. I sat down and I subscribed to a bunch of things. I put ads out. And what I ended up realizing was I was spending hundreds of dollars and I was making nothing in return. Consolidate your systems immediately. That's the advice I could give you to this problem. I moved everything to one platform because completely spending my money on a bunch of different things, trying to duct tape a plan together that hopefully will work out while I'm bleeding out money. The issue that is going on is that I'm bleeding out money. It's not the other issues that I want to resolve by subscribing to a million different things, but it's the fact that I'm leaking out money. In the end of the day, that is what's going to kill your business. That is what's going to kill your desire to continue. And that is what will burn you out the most. Keep your overhead at zero until the market pays you. When the market begins to pay you, you begin to subscribe to things. You begin to figure out things that can save you time. But until then, why are you going to pay for things when in the end of the day, you haven't produced anything yet? And I will give a little bit of leeway there, because if I'm totally honest, there were subscriptions that helped me be able to make some money without me making any money yet, right? There's subscriptions I had before I made money. So my best recommendation 100% is to keep your overhead at zero, the best of your possibility. But if you want to keep a very, very, very limited amount, if it fits within your budget and you are able to afford it without any struggle, a very small amount, and you spend on that until you begin to produce clients, that's okay. If you totally need it. But if you don't need it, don't spend on it. Don't spend a dime on it. Because in the end of the day, the thing that will burn you out the fastest is seeing no money come in and seeing that your account is negative because you're spending a ton of subscriptions and you're duct taping things together and none of it is producing you money. Produce money and then spend. That is one of the biggest recommendations I could give you to avoid burnout and avoid failing in your business, in your future business, or in your current business. There is no sadder thing than to see a grocery store close out and the business owner be stuck with all the ton of stuff that they bought to be able to have the grocery store. And I know there's different contexts to all of this because the fact that a grocery store does need to actually have things within it. But if I could recommend something even to that grocery store owner is limit what you buy so that you don't have a larger loss. And if you begin to see that you need to buy more and that you can buy more, then do so then. The same applies with whatever level of business you are going to do, whether a blue-collar worker or whether it is a mechanic that needs to buy tools. This is applicable to any level of business. You have blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, any level of business. you need to keep in mind that if you're starting your business, you need to be very much aware of what the overhead is for your business and avoid high overheads when you haven't even made anything yet. That is the biggest trap for you to be end up burnout or end up closing negative. Mistake number three of starting a business is when you start a business and you fill yourself up of all the to-dos when you're not even prioritizing things that you most need to do. So you put priority social media, you put to priority building website, you put to priority registering the business, you put to priority opening the savings. You put a priority a bunch of things that are always constantly going in front for some reason of what matters most, of outreach, of getting leads, of selling the product, of making money. Those are the things that matter most. Yes, there's going to have to be some level of dedication to social media, especially when you're starting by yourself and you don't have someone to do these things for you. You need to dedicate some level of time to them. But if you find yourself dedicating tons and tons and tons of time to something that is not the main priority or what's going to produce you money or what is going to produce a sale, in the end of the day, that thing is just robbing for what matters most. If you need to dedicate time to different responsibilities, then you do so. Limited amount. Track that time and make sure you're spending time on what most matters. The most successful CEOs talk consistently about how they leave behind the things that matter least to them and how they little by little improve and gradually increase the amount that they focus on what matters most. Elon Musk doesn't dedicate time to social media. Elon Musk doesn't dedicate time to how much better he can do on this, on that, on things that don't matter. Instead, he improves on what matters most to him. Whatever that is for Elon Musk at a larger level of such a big company and CEO of that company, he thinks about the bigger picture. And you need to sit down and realize whatever your bigger picture is, whatever your thing that is going to make your business successful is, that needs to have the most time. If it's having the least time or it's having no time, then you are making a massive mistake. And what that leads to is, again, burnout. It leads to failure. Why? Because what you end up getting out of the hours and hours and hours you're dedicating to your business, but to things that don't matter as much and wasting your time in that way, what you end up getting is no results. You end up getting no money, you get no sales, and you end up burnt out because you're tired, because you're not focusing on what matters most. Be the person that is able to avoid these mistakes and be successful in business. If you avoid these three things, you are going to boost the amount of success you are going to have exponentially just by starting off with this in mind. Learn from my pivot so you don't waste 6 months of your business time that you could be making money, time of your own life, and stop hiding behind your laptop. Go make an offer. Go sell what you want to sell. Don't put your overhead so high and decrease it, but sell and focus on what matters most, which is selling the business, selling the offer, and making money for yourself. See you in the next one.